Cowboys Nation breathe. Yeah, I know Sunday hit hard. Another game, another emotional roller coaster. But let's just take a second to step back and really talk. Not just react. Not just rage. Not just start yelling for heads to roll. Let's actually look at what's going on here. Because honestly, nothing that happened against the Rams should have surprised anybody who's been watching this team from day one. And that's the part that really gets to me. The level of shock, the dramatic reactions, the "I'm done with this team" energy from some fans. It's wild. Because we've seen this movie before. Hell, we've seen it in HD, with surround sound, and we got the director's cut. There were no new twists. No unexpected plot points. The issues that burned us in Week 8 are the same ones that were sitting there, plain as day, since Week 1. We've known the scheme was fragile. We've known we're thin at certain positions. We've known that if this team wasn't operating close to perfect, especially on one side of the ball, it would eventually crack. And that's exactly what happened. This team isn't regressing. This team never truly progressed. It's been stuck in the same gear all season. So here we are. The score says 44-24, and yeah, that stings. It makes you want to throw your remote through the wall. I get it. I was mad, too. But if you take a step back, you'll realize this isn't new. This wasn't some freak performance or a total collapse out of nowhere. This was the Cowboys being the Cowboys in the exact ways we feared they might be. The defense wasn't ready. The roster was banged up. The scheme didn't hold. And suddenly, the pressure fell squarely on the offense's shoulders. And when that happens, mistakes follow. That's just reality. Now, what I'm not going to do is sit here and start pointing fingers in the same old direction every time we take a loss. Yeah, I know, Jerry Jones is the easy target. But let's be real, y'all. That man ain't out there getting burned on crossing routes. He's not missing tackles or busting coverages. This loss, like the ones before, came down to what we already understood about this roster. There's a lack of depth and talent on the defensive side of the ball, and that weakness is being exposed. I get frustrated not just at the team, but at how we as fans handle it. Some of y'all been repping the star for 20, 30, 40 years, but the minute the team gets smacked, you're on social media talking about, "I'm done being a Cowboys fan." Come on now. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. You don't get to jump off the bandwagon every Sunday night and try to climb back on when things look good again. That's not loyalty. That's not passion. That's impulse. And honestly, it's embarrassing. We're grown adults here. We've got families, jobs, lives, and yet we melt down like toddlers in the candy aisle every time the scoreboard doesn't go our way. Part of being a real fan is being able to take those L's on the chin, process them, and still show up the next week. Not blindly, not delusionally, but faithfully. Understanding who your team is. Understanding what they're capable of, good or bad. Now look, I'm not saying don't be mad. Be mad. Be pissed off. Scream at your TV. That's part of the game. But don't act like this team is betraying you every time they lose. They are who we thought they were. They've shown us, week after week, what the blueprint looks like. We've seen the flaws. We've seen the ceiling. We've seen the floor. And if you're being honest with yourself, none of this should have caught you off guard. That defense. Patchwork. I mean, let's just say it how it is. We had third and fourth stringers starting across the secondary. Our best defensive players are injured. We've got practice squad guys out there getting cooked by NFL starters. How is that sustainable? It's not. You can't expect greatness from a unit that's barely functional. You can't plug that many holes with duct tape and expect to keep the water out forever. And it's not just injuries. It's scheme. It's execution. It's the reality that this defensive approach was built around one thing, a dominant pass rush. The kind of pressure that throws quarterbacks off their rhythm, that forces mistakes, that lets the rest of the defense play downhill. And when that pressure isn't there, the whole thing collapses. It's like building a house on sand. That's why I'm not sitting here calling for the defensive coordinator's job today, at least not yet. Because when you're missing the key players your system relies on, it's hard to evaluate the system fairly. That said, let's not pretend he's done a great job adapting. He hasn't. The schemes looked soft. The players look confused. And that's on coaching. But again, it's not one thing. It's a web of issues. Injuries, lack of talent, questionable coaching. And yet, we're still in it. That's the craziest part. We're not out of the playoff picture. We've still got a top 5 offense in the league. In a season with no clear-cut Super Bowl favorite, that alone should give you a reason to stay engaged, to stay hopeful. Now, Am I saying this team's a legit contender? Not right now. But are they a couple of smart moves and a healthy stretch away from being dangerous? Absolutely. This isn't the kind of year where you need to be perfect to make a run. You just need to get hot at the right time. And that window? It's not closed yet. So no, I'm not punting on the season. I'm not lighting it on fire after week 8. And I don't think the front office should either. They've got decisions to make, no doubt. Do they hold firm, ride the wave, hope the injured guys return in time to salvage things? Or do they try to make a move, bring in someone who can help right now without mortgaging the future? That's the balance they've got to strike. And let me say this, if you can add a veteran piece, a guy who makes an immediate impact without blowing a first-rounder, then you do it. You don't hesitate. Because this roster, for all its flaws, still has the bones of a contender. This offense is championship caliber, but it can't do it alone. It needs help. And if you can give it that help without crippling your future, then what are we waiting for? We're in a league where nothing is guaranteed, where one injury can derail a season, where one hot streak can flip the standings. So if you're close, and Dallas is closer than people want to admit, then you take your shot. You don't sell the farm, but you don't sit on your hands either. Now I know some folks are going to say, man, even if we make a trade, it won't fix the defense. And maybe that's true. Maybe it won't. But at least then we'll know. At least then we can say we gave it a real shot. Because that's what this season demands. Not perfection, but effort. Intent. You try to fix what's broken. You try to patch what you can. And if it still doesn't work, then you know where the fault really lies. Then you can clean house with clarity. But punting now? Giving up just because we took another L? That's weak. That's not how champions are made. And that's not how fan bases are supposed to act. You want to know what real fans do? They stay. They stick. They feel the losses, but they don't let those losses define them. They know it's a long season. They know this journey is full of ups and downs. So yeah, week 8 sucked. It exposed everything we feared. But it didn't show us anything we didn't already know. This team is still dangerous. Still flawed. Still frustrated. But still very much alive in a season full of chaos and uncertainty. And that, Cowboys Nation, is more than enough reason to keep showing up. And let me talk directly to the fans who are riding that emotional roller coaster every single week like it's life or death. The ones saying, I'm done. I've been a fan for 30 years and I can't take it anymore. Look, I hear you. I feel you. But let's be honest here. Most of y'all ain't going anywhere. You'll be back next Sunday, jersey on, yelling at the screen like nothing ever happened. And that's fine. That's love. But that also means we've got to stop with the overreactions. We've got to stop acting like one loss erases everything and one win means we're going to the Super Bowl. That constant emotional flip-flop doesn't help. It just makes us look unstable, like we don't even understand the sport we claim to love. Because here's the truth. We knew this defense wasn't built to carry us. We've seen what happens when the pass rush doesn't get home. We've seen what happens when the secondary gets exposed, and when linebackers miss assignments, and when safeties are forced to do too much. So why does it feel like the sky is falling every single time those things play out again on Sundays? Like I said earlier, the problems are not new. They just keep repeating themselves. And now we're at the point in the season where we've got to stop pretending we didn't see it coming. What we're watching is a team with a dangerous offense and a defense that can't hold up under pressure. That imbalance? It's brutal. It breaks the game open. It turns winnable games into blowouts. That pressure doesn't just land on the scoreboard. It lands on your quarterback, your play calling, your tempo. You can't play free when you're trying to score on every single possession because your defense can't get a stop. That's not sustainable football. And you saw it in that Rams game. Dak wasn't terrible, but he wasn't perfect. And when your team needs perfection just to survive, then you're living on the edge. The defense gave up drive after drive, and the offense eventually cracked under the weight of needing to respond every single time. That's the kind of imbalance that breaks teams. And unless something changes, whether it's health, personnel, or scheme, it's going to keep happening. But again, none of this is an excuse to give up. Not when you've still got one of the most explosive offenses in the league. Not when the playoff picture is still wide open. And definitely not in a season where there are no juggernauts running away from the pack. You've got a shot. Maybe not a great shot, but a shot. And that alone means you fight. You don't punt the season. You don't wave the white flag. You make moves, smart moves, that keep you in it. And part of that means having a front office that understands timing. You don't force desperation trades in Week 8. You wait until the league is ready to move. You wait until the price comes down. That's how you make good deals that don't hurt your future. Because let's be real, there's no point in giving up a first-round pick for a rental who won't be here next year. That's bad business. But if you can flip a third or fourth for a vet who can come in, make plays now, and still be around next season, that's the kind of move that gives you a boost without mortgage-level risk. That's what I want to see. I want to see us supplement this defense with guys who don't just plug holes for a few weeks, but who actually elevate the unit long-term. Because then, if things still fall apart, you know exactly where the problem is. You remove all the excuses. And that's when you make the big changes. If you have to move on from your defensive coordinator, at least you do it knowing you tried everything else first. You gave him talent. You gave him time. You gave him the chance to adjust. And if it still doesn't work, boom, door's right there. But if we never try, if we just sit here week after week taking the same losses, with the same issues, and pretending like yelling about Jerry Jones on the internet is some kind of solution, then we're wasting everybody's time. I'm tired of the emotional chaos that floods the fan base every Sunday. I'm tired of the overreactions, the flip-flopping, the social media meltdowns. Every loss doesn't mean the season's over. Every win doesn't mean the parade is scheduled. Let's be grown about this. And speaking of being grown, let's talk about entitlement. That belief that just because we were the star, we're owed something. Owed wins. Owed dominance. Owed a Super Bowl appearance. Where did that come from? Nobody's owed anything in this league. You earn it. And guess what? This team hasn't earned that yet. They've got work to do. And it's on us, as fans, to understand that being a fan doesn't mean riding only when the sun is shining. It means showing up in the rain, too. It means understanding that every season is a grind. And if you're only in it for the glory, then you're going to be miserable most of the time. Because football is pain. Being a fan is pain. It's part of the package. You want joy? You want euphoria? You've got to take the gut punches, too. That's what makes the good times even sweeter. But you can't act like the world's ending every time your team loses a big one. Especially when, deep down, you knew that was possible. Maybe even likely. That's why I keep saying, brace yourself. This ride is bumpy. There are no guarantees. But if you're really about this team, if you really bleed blue, then you already know what you signed up for. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. In what is already shaping up to be the most talked about offseason in recent memory, whispers from Dallas are heating up the NFL rumor mill. The Cowboys are reportedly closing in on a blockbuster defensive addition, and all signs point to none other than edge rusher Brian Burns. Known for his relentless pressure and game-changing plays, Burns could be the missing piece for a Cowboys defense that has been searching for dominance in the trenches for years. Sources close to the team claim that Dallas has been quietly working behind the scenes, making strategic moves to clear cap space and assemble a defensive unit that could intimidate even the league's top offenses. Burns, who has consistently been among the league leaders in sacks and quarterback pressures, is said to be intrigued by the idea of joining a franchise with such storied history and a front office that seems hell-bent on building a championship-caliber roster. The buzz around town is palpable. Social media feeds are lighting up with speculation, and insiders hint that a deal could be finalized before fans even realize it. While nothing is officially confirmed, the very notion of Burns in a Cowboys uniform has sparked heated debates. Could Dallas finally boast a defense capable of carrying them through the playoffs? Or is this just another tantalizing rumor designed to sell headlines? Either way, the potential impact is undeniable. Imagine Burns lining up opposite Micah Parsons, forming a pass-rushing duo that could redefine the NFC East. The Cowboys' defensive scheme could suddenly transform into a nightmare for quarterbacks, forcing hurried throws and costly mistakes. Fans and analysts alike are already crafting highlight reels in their heads, envisioning game-breaking plays that could turn the Cowboys into instant Super Bowl contenders. As the offseason unfolds, one thing is clear. If the whispers prove true, Dallas isn't just chasing a title. They're announcing a new era of defensive dominance. And in a league where speculation drives excitement almost as much as results, the mere suggestion of Brian Burns joining the Cowboys is enough to send shockwaves through football circles nationwide. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over, and the next few weeks could reshape the NFL landscape in ways nobody saw coming. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.